I want you to think about this in terms of what you said earlier, where you're describing how a collectible becomes a store of value, becomes a medium of exchange, becomes a unit of account. Like, is this a pathway you think Bitcoin will follow as well to get to that bright orange future? Yeah. And that's what I think the Austrian economists do a great job of, they just studied what has happened, and they explain the process of a commodity like seashells or glass beads or little bits of metal. How did that become money? And you have to have a very logical, stepwise process, because you can't make the jump. You can't just decide overnight, like, okay, everybody, we're all going to value glass beads. It has to be an organic process that is in line with individual decision making. And that is what they enumerated, that it goes from collectible to store of value to medium of exchange to unit of account. And I think we can all say that Bitcoin is already a digital collectible. Like, the majority of the world views Bitcoin as a digital collectible. The majority of the world doesn't own Bitcoin, but they wish they did, because they see that it has value. It's okay. It's a digital collectible. And we're in the stage now where we're transitioning from a small group of humans valuing this collectible to everyone recognizing that Bitcoin has value. We're going through that process of Bitcoin transitioning from most of the world viewing Bitcoin as a collectible to most of the world viewing Bitcoin as a store of value asset. And then we'll keep building from there. And the way I think about it is, each function of money, collectible, store of value, and so on, is its own S-curve of technology adoption. Okay. And so you're going to move through the bell curve of technology adopters for each function of money. And we've already gotten through probably the majority of the bell curve for that first function, collectibles, but we're still in the early stages of people recognizing Bitcoin as a store of value asset. Yeah. So, and then, we're even earlier in the process for medium of exchange and unit of account. Yeah. I think that's what it means to be a Bitcoin maximalist, is to, or whatever term you want to use for it, is to view Bitcoin as the primary pillar of your saving strategy. Yeah. And that's how I view it. And that's how other, Bitcoin advocates view it. And that means pricing everything in Bitcoin. Yeah. Right. Like, so I'm on a Bitcoin unit of account, but there's not very many of us, right? Like maybe 100,000 in the world who are at that level of Bitcoin adoption. And, so each of these S curves is in its own level of progression through the bell curve. And that's just how this process plays out. And it plays out year by year, people learning about Bitcoin. It plays out cycle by cycle as Bitcoin's increasing scarcity ratchets up. Then that causes, the price of Bitcoin to go up because we're producing less of it. And then generation by generation too, like kids who are growing up today know Bitcoin as a store of value asset. And like baby boomers don't view it as a store of value asset, but eventually we will live in a world where everyone has only known Bitcoin existing and being reliable. And that, I think, is part of how we as a civilization will slowly, inevitably march through that path dependent process of Bitcoin going from digital collectible to the best money on earth. Yes. Fantastic. We laid that out. I like to cite that quote. I won't attribute it, but science advances from funeral to funeral. Yes. So like, you do need, for these new ideas to propagate, it does take a dying off of people that adhere to the old ideas. And of course, this is a generalization, right? There's old people that get Bitcoin, there's young people, but broadly speaking, because it's a digital native money, it tends to be more favored by digital native people, right? Yep. People that have grown up with digital technology, which is not even me, but like, I'm an old millennial. I'm 39. I didn't grow up with it. I mean, I guess I did grow up with video games or whatnot, but I didn't grow up with an iPhone, for instance. Right. So I'm kind of on this cusp.
There also seem, I like the successive S curve. Oh, I'm sorry, S curve. Is that right?
Yeah, it'd be like that. Yeah.
Yeah, it kind of goes what?
It's exponential for the first half, and then it goes slow down and plateau. Got
it. Okay. Right. So that's right. Slow beginning.
Yep.
Steep, and then kind of late laggards coming in. Yeah.
Yes.
But 4 successive ones, one for each function of money, but these aren't discrete adoption curves. They're overlapping.
Exactly.
Yeah. And there's different people, as you said, maybe 100,000 people are already in the unit of account phase.
Yep.
That one's interesting too, because if you price homes in Bitcoin,
yep.
Home prices are down 99+% over the past 10 years.
Yeah.
And if you just say that to someone like, hey, guy on the street, did you know home prices are down 99% over the past 10 years? I'd be like, you're completely full of shit. Like, what are you talking about? Like,
right.
Home prices go up all the time. They're up. Well, I don't know the percentage, probably 100% or more in the past 10 years.
It's all based on the unit of account that they're thinking in terms of.
Exactly. And this is that strange psychological thing. It's like you have to realize that it's a reference frame or a frame of reference for you. And you got to take off those glasses and try on something new, basically. Mm-hmm. What do you think of those different adoption curves? Do you think it's going to be people chasing number go up? Do you think it's going to be people, probably a combination of all the things, but people using Bitcoin to say like an unstoppable medium of exchange, or people adopting this as like kind of their frame of reference, so to speak, in pricing their own net worth or their business activities? Which one's going to be really driving Bitcoin adoption?
Yeah, that's where I think Satoshi's, I think it's underrated that Satoshi implemented the halvings system.
Yeah.
Because that increasing scarcity for the next 120 years forces, the value of the Bitcoin that you hold today to be more in 4 years, when there's suddenly less Bitcoin being created every day. That's incredible. That's never been possible before with any asset. And that is the basis for number go up. So like if there were no more adopters of Bitcoin, it's just people who believe in Bitcoin today, continue to believe in Bitcoin, the price of Bitcoin will go up because you're the same set of people competing over less new supply every 4 years.
Yeah.
And so that's just Marshall Cross, supply and demand meeting. Suddenly there's less supply being created, and where supply and demand meet shifts and on the y-axis, and price goes up. Like get rid of all the noise. That's the mechanics of what's happening. So if no new adopters still means the price of Bitcoin goes up, and people learn about that, you're going to have new adopters.
Yes. Yeah. This is so, yeah.
So I think the core brilliance of Bitcoin is number go up, and that drives adoption because everybody's acting in personal interest. Like, I'm going to adopt Bitcoin as part of my savings strategy because it's going to grow in value. And that's game theory playing out. And as people recognize that this is the game theory, everyone has an incentive to adopt it because it will go up in value over time. Then you start to realize, like, as soon as people learn about this, everyone's going to adopt it.
Yeah.
And it's sort of that cycle of like the having that root driver of number go up because of increasing scarcity, and then the game theory layering on top of that makes it inevitable, I think, that the world will adopt Bitcoin as a savings technology.
Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this episode, click here to find more just like it, and here to find our most recent episode. Also, make sure to like this video to help shine light on the corruption of money, and be sure to subscribe to this channel to stay connected.